I'd like to call to order the June 16th, 2015 regular meeting of the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners. I invite you to stand if you wish while I offer invocation. Following that, Commissioner Denning will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Father, we thank you again for another wonderful day in our community, and we pray that you'll give us wisdom and guidance as we consider the issues before this body. We pray that you'll provide protection for our servicemen and our police and fire that are out there today. We ask in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Commissioner Perigin.
Here.
Commissioner Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Denning.
Here.
Commissioner Hill.
Here.
Mayor Wilkerson.
Here. We have some awards and recognitions tonight. Mr. DeFebo?
I do not, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Melissa Carter, would you like to come up and tell us about the recognition that you just received on
Either one.
Help us introduce everybody so at home we'll know who it is and where you're from.
Mayor Wilkerson, thank you for your time this afternoon. My name is Bill Crowder. I represent the Kentucky Association of Chiefs of Police. I sit on the Executive Board and chair the Professional Standards Committee, which oversees the accreditation program. With me, I have Jim Pendergraph. He's our Executive Director of the Kentucky Association of Chiefs of Police. We're here today to recognize the Communications Center within the Bowling Green Police Department. The Kentucky Association of Chiefs of Police always strives for excellence in policing. We started an accreditation program for policing over 20 years ago, and happy to say that Bowling Green PD was one of the first to go through that process, as we just re-upped them for their 5th accreditation process a short time ago. As we strive for our excellence in what we do to promote policing, we discovered that communication was only a small portion of our accreditation program. So in December of 2014, our executive board approved an accreditation process for telecommunications centers. We're only the second in the nation that we're aware of to have this program, and Bowling Green PD and the Communications Center very quickly jumped on board with that. In April, we completed the process, and Bowling Green PD Communications Center, under Chief Doug Hawkins, Major Delaney, Communications Manager Melissa Carter back here, became the first in the state to complete the accreditation process through our organization. And we're here today just to say congratulations and officially award a certificate for that behalf.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Like Bill said, this is the first one in the state, so y'all have a lot to be proud of. You have an excellent police department. They are leaders in law enforcement across the state, and we're very proud of Bowling Green PD, so thank you.
Thank you, sir. Just to give you a piece of history there, Bowling Green has had a long history in trying to be on the forefront of communication service. We hold Motorola FM radio license #1. So it'll go along with our first accreditation. Thank you coming down. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, we have a couple of other things. Did you want to make a comment about the CDBG letter that we received? That Mr. Cook is back here for?
Yeah, we received an excellent letter from Community Development Block Grant. The HUD people come down and monitored us, and I think it was Nick Cook's first monitoring visit, and we received very high marks. So congratulations to NCS, Nick Cook, and Brent Childers, and all the staff there that work hard to provide the services many people don't see.
It's a lot of work. Did you have something else? I got to
Yeah, I did. There'll be a need for an executive session. Kate will read the reasons.
Okay.
Pursuant to KRS 618101B for discussions on the future acquisition or sale of real property by the city, but only when publicity would likely affect the value of the specific pieces of property to be acquired for public use and sold by the city. KRS 618110C for discussions of proposed litigation against and on behalf of the city, and KRS 618110 6.1G, discussions between the city and a representative of a business entity and discussions concerning a specific proposal if open discussions would jeopardize the siting, retention, expansion, or upgrading of the business.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Did you have another one, Mr. Febo?
I did not.
Okay. Well, I have two more. One was,
Okay.
was asked this afternoon. Steve Wallace from the United Way will be having a press conference for the community impact. This will be their first initiative. That's on June 23rd at 9 o'clock at the Convention Center, and invited all of us to be present. And then finally, I think our city manager has been recognized by the International City Managers Association for 25 years of service. I didn't put it up there.
Oh,
I
okay.
just didn't want to embarrass you too much, but congratulations on
Oh,
the 25
thanks.
years you put into it. Thank you.
One gray hair for each year.
No comment. All right, let's go to the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting on June 2nd, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Williams. Is there any discussion? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Next is public comments, and we provide this opportunity for someone from the public. If they'd like to make a comment on an item that's not on tonight's agenda, this would be the opportunity for them to do so. Seeing no one in the audience, we'll go to the second reading of Ordinance BG 2015-14.
Ordinance adopting annual city budget. Ordinance adopting the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2015 and ending June 30, 2016 by estimating revenues and appropriating funds for the operation of city government.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to remind our citizens this annual budget provides a blueprint that we use to pay for the services that we provide to people in our community. It allows us to pay our bills, to provide the menu of services they've become used to. It also provides up to $2 million for new stormwater, sidewalks, and paving, and provides for the citizens hopefully a solution to a small house Campbell Lane intersection that's been backing up for many years. We think it does a lot, and we're pretty proud of it, especially since the commission has been able to hopefully pass this without a tax increase and without new debt or a raid on our fund balance. So it reflects all the important things that we think are important for a City of Bowling Green budgeting.
Do we have any comments or discussion regarding the entire budget? We had the full presentation and the first reading. Is there anything else? Thank you again for all that hard work. I know it's several months of preparation for tonight. No other comments? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Second reading of Ordinance BG 2015-15.
Ordinance relating to classification pay schedules. Ordinance amending the classification pay schedules G for general classified, S for protective sworn, D for department head management, and U for unclassified part-time employees, and authorizing pay increases for fiscal year 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Is there any further discussion since it's a second reading? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Second reading of Ordinance 2015-16.
Ordinance terminating interlocal agreement with Warren County. Ordinance terminating interlocal cooperation agreement with Warren County related to public safety mobile radio communication system.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Just as a reminder, this is removing the old radio committee, and we have a new radio committee in place. Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Second reading of Ordinance BG 2015-17.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 16, Parks and Recreation of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances to repeal Subchapter 16-2 Board of Park Commissioners.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Again, this is not doing away with the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, but it brings it in-house under the department head rather than appointed from the city commission level. So good luck, Brent. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Second reading of ordinance BG 2015-18.
Ordinance amending Code of Ordinances. Ordinance amending Chapter 11, Finance, Taxation, and Economic Development of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances to add a new subchapter related to the creation of an energy project assessment district.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Perigin. This is a second reading. As you recall, we had the presentation from former State Treasurer Jonathan Miller on a method by which people could improve their property and provide that assessment on their property for themselves. It's not a new tax on anyone that they did not, or the assessment has to be approved by the property owner. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-106.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of L. Nicole Rogers to the position of financial specialist in the finance department.
So moved.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
As we're aware, Jeff Meisel is in the midst of a reorganization of his finance department. One of the elements of that is to reclassify, retitle positions when the opportunity arises with retirement. We had Sharon Garman retire after many years of dedicated service, and Jeff felt fit, along with Mike's help, to retitle that position to what is known as financial specialist. The goal here is to allow Jeff the freedom of using his resources across multiple silos of need instead of being stuck with one particular area. We went out to advertise it. We had 45 applicants, and from that vetting process, Nicole Rogers is Jeff's and others' recommendation to fill this position. She has a BA from Campbellsville University. I think Joe knows where that is, and has worked as an accountant and bookkeeper. I believe Nicole is here to take your accolades.
This is a chance where we get to get you to stand up and everybody at home gets to see you on camera. So congratulations. Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Must be a pretty good school. I've had two grandsons to graduate from over there.
All right, anything else? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-107.
Municipal order approving the probationary appointment of Terry R. Steff to the position of Animal Control Officer in the Neighborhood and Community Services Department.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Perigin. Obviously, they don't know Terry.
We'll tell them about it. As the commission will remember, we undertook another reorganization to place animal control in neighborhood and community services, feeling that that was a better fit than in paramilitary police department. So we thought it'd be good for neighborhood services. So we undertook reorganizing that in NCS. We had one staff member who retired for medical reasons, and we went out to look for new talent. We had 98 people interested in being our animal control. Yes, everybody loves dogs and animals, so there was 98 people. And from that process, rising to the top was Terry Steff. Terry, as Bruce has intimated, was a former member of many police departments, most prominently ours. We feel pretty confident that he'll provide the balance of toughness and nuances needed in this position. I believe Terry is here.
Terry's here. Stand up, Terry. So when you get the dog call, here to come.
Terry's my man. I'll have to call him for sure.
Thank you, Terry. We need any discussion or comments? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Good luck, Terry. We hope you enjoy it. Municipal Order 2015-108.
Municipal order approving the appointment of Donnie Brown to the Bowling Green Warren County Military Liaison Board.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Williams. This is the liaison board that we share with Warren County that helps us with military affairs and retirees. And Mr. Brown's been a long-standing member of the Legion and active member in the community. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-109.
Municipal order approving the reappointment of Chuck Coppinger and appointment of Greg Gay to the City County Planning Commission of Warren County.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Perigin. This reappointment, Mr. Coppinger is going into his second term, has done a good job, and will be bringing Greg Gay from the Historic Preservation Board to the Planning Commission as John Atkerson is retiring to take care of his full-time job in the new business he opened. So we wish him well and thank them both for their service. Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-110.
Municipal order authorizing insurance premium payments to the Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services for insurance coverages of general liability, public officials liability, law enforcement liability, automobile liability, and physical damage, property, and workers' compensation for fiscal year 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. DeFebo.
Thank you, Mayor. Like any other company or individual that runs a household, insurances in a variety of format are needed. The city is no different. We use the Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services to provide a whole panoply of insurances and to make sure we get a proper rate for that. The person responsible for managing under the tutelage of Mike Grubbs is Dave Weisbrot, and he's going to make a presentation to you.
Safety Dave.
Mayor, Commission. I'll just highlight some policy changes that are scheduled for FY16. One of the major changes that we have is we're increasing our liability limits from $5 million to $10 million. So that should help us all sleep a little better at night. I feel the city of this size should have a $10 million liability limit. Also, we are adding comprehensive coverage on approximately 200 vehicles. We started looking at catastrophic losses and thought that it would be a good idea to go ahead and add some of the lower dollar vehicles, add comprehensive to those vehicles. Also, newer leaf machines increased our mobile equipment value by about $500,000. Some other factors affecting our premium was an $8 million increase in property valuation, and that was basically due to a property valuation audit that was performed earlier this year, and also a 3% inflationary increase. So that affected our property coverage premiums. On the liability lines of coverage, our general liability and law enforcement liability increased 10 to 15%, and auto liability and public official rates actually decreased 5 and 6% respectively. Rates were adjusted. These rates that I'm speaking of, the increases and decreases, came about from an actuarial study performed by Kentucky League of Cities, and they were assessed throughout the entire pool. So it wasn't just Bowling Green that saw these increases and decreases. In workers' comp, we had a 5% premium charge due to a workers' comp loss ratio credit, due to the loss of the loss ratio credit, which accounted for about $40,000 increase in our workers' comp. And we had a loss ratio credit. Our loss ratio credit was basically due to one claim. The loss in credit was basically due to one claim, unfortunately. And then there was a 5% premium charge that was assessed across the board to all pool members. Our workers' comp experience modification factor increased somewhat from 0.58 to 0.68, which accounted for about a $40,000 increase in our workers' comp. Despite that, the city's experience modification factor is still the best when compared to all cities insured through the Kentucky League of Cities. We have the best experience modification factor. So if you were to say 0.68 rather than 0.58, it's like losing the sprinkles on a triple dipped ice cream cone. So we're still doing very well on our workers' comp. And that's about it.
Have any comments or questions? Or- yes, sir.
I'd just like to acknowledge the work of Dave Wise wrote. We always talk about our great police department and our fire department, and tonight I think we equally are fortunate to have a great loss risk services done by Mike, and with David being the tip of the spear. I just want to acknowledge his services to the city.
Thank you. Appreciate your work. Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-111.
Municipal order authorizing insurance premium payments to the Kentucky League of Cities Insurance Services for insurance coverages of general liability, public officials' errors and omissions, buildings and property, and business automobile for the Convention Center Corporation for fiscal year 2016.
So move.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Sebo.
Thank you, Mayor. And not to leave Michael Grubbs out, I would ask him to come up to handle items 11, 12, and 13 since they're all in the same family. I think you met earlier to talk about at the Convention Center a minor increase in insurance coverages there, but Mike's here if you want the public to hear more about what we do there. If not, you can just vote on it, I guess.
Mr. Grubbs.
You can vote if you want. Yes, we also insure the Convention Center through the Kentucky League of Cities insurance pool. We have done that since around 2002. It seemed to make some sense to have it the same place where the city's insurance is. Our premium this year went up a whopping $53 and is well below what our budget is, so definitely recommend keeping insurance there. Be glad to answer any questions if you have any.
Comments or questions on that item? All right, did you want to go ahead and discuss the other two
Sure.
before we get?
The next couple of items that I have, one is to continue our agreement with occupational health professionals for employee medical services. That's for such things as our pre-employment physicals, drug and alcohol testing, hearing conservation program, hepatitis testing, vaccinations, our random drug testing, pretty much everything we do with employees to get them to work or keep them working. We did go through a bid process last year and selected OHP, so this would be the first renewal of that proposal. Their contract is for 3 years with no rate increase, but we do require an annual renewal because of the dollar amount. I did mention in my memo, because of our plans to open the Employee Health Center, it's possible that some services covered by this contract will move to the center in the future. We obviously would have to amend our contract with OHP down the road to make that change, but right now we're recommending continuing the contract as is until we have the health center up and running. Third
any
item,
comments or questions?
Sir.
Any comments or questions on that item before we go to the third one? Okay.
Sorry. The third item is relates to the stop-loss insurance on the city's medical plan. We have been self-funded since 1992. We purchased stop-loss or excess insurance coverage to take care of claims over a certain dollar amount. In the past, we started off with a stop-loss figure that was $35,000. Over time, it's gone up to $100,000 to try to keep our premiums down. The last few years have had a lot of difficulty shopping the stop-loss insurance because we have a couple of major high claimants. Typically, some insurance companies want to do what they call lasering, where they carve out that person and say, we're not going to pay $100,000 above $100,000. You're going to have to take on more risk. But so far, we've kept with the same insurance company, Symetra Life, and they've continued to offer us premiums that we can afford without separating those individuals out and having to pay a higher amount on them. Our consultants, Cheryl Morgan, helped us again this year. We shop this every year. Companies always want to wait till as late in the year as possible, being our fiscal year, to quote because they want to see the status of claims. We again have at least 2 major claimants of at least $300,000 or more that most of the companies are wanting to separate out and say, we'll give you a better premium, but you're going to pay more on those claimants. We originally looked at about 11 companies. They helped us narrow it down to 5. We then started negotiating with those. Cheryl Morgan negotiated with the top 2, one of which was Symetra. Symetra typically does not laser anybody, but they'll charge you a higher premium. Comparing them to the other company that was willing to offer a more economical premium, but laser the other people, we are safer staying with Symetra. Cheryl Morgan went back and pretty much used each company's quote against each other to get the best deal they could for us. They came back with a proposal from Symetra that is well within our budget for next year. In addition to that, they're recommending that we raise our deductible from $100,000 to $125,000 per person. That could have saved us $80,000 had we done that this year. We're taking on a bit more risk, but we would have to have 7 claimants go above $100,000 before it would cost us anything, and we've not had more than 5 in the last 3 years. So we felt fairly safe in recommending staying with Symetra and also going to the $125,000. Our premium will actually be quite a bit less, about $300,000 less than what we have budgeted. So that gives us some cushion in case claims go up this next year. So the recommendation is to continue another year with Symetra and then also raise our specific deductible to $125,000.
Any questions for Mr. Grubbs on the stop-loss insurance? All right, hearing none, we'll vote on Municipal Order 2015-111, so please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-112,
Municipal order authorizing continuation of an agreement with occupational health professionals to provide employee medical services, physicals, and medical testing for fiscal year 2016.
So moved.
Second.
motion by Hill, second by Williams. Is there any further discussion or questions?
Yeah, just one, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Who are these professionals that we're working with here, Mike?
Which is,
OHP
OHP?
that's Charlie Fortney's company, Occupational Health Professionals.
and Jace Pinerola.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
I'll have to abstain. They're opening a facility in a building I'll be managing later this year. Municipal Order 2015-113.
Municipal order authorizing continuation of coverage by Symetra Life Insurance Company related to managed health care and specific stop-loss excess insurance for fiscal year 2016.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Perigin. Is there any further discussion or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-114.
Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid number 2015-45 for Parks and Recreation roofing and structural repair project from Carter Douglas Company of Russellville, Kentucky in the amount of $238,500.
So moved.
Motion by Hill and second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
I think the commission will remember back during the period of a winter that would never end, we had a collapse, a significant collapse of part of the Moxley building, the part that houses our employees, most of them, as well as the fitness center, suffered significant failure. And so we went out to bid, and we had a first engineer, and since it was so unique, and we're here tonight after a lot of work to ask you to approve the one bid that we have to bring the building back to use. It will result in the roof being repaired, the substructure of the roof, the interior fixtures, and allow us to get back into the fitness business full-time, as well as our staff to come back into the building instead of using the trailer. Brent's here, who's done a good job of managing this crisis, if you have any questions.
Were you surprised there's only one bid?
Brent, you want to handle this?
I guess the short answer is slightly yes, but we had a pre-bid meeting because of the nature of the construction, the repairs needed. We did have two come for that, so the most we could have had was 2 bids there. So we only had one of those 2 that actually bid on it. We'd like to have more, but I think the complexity of the repairs may have led to some of that. That's just my assumption, I suppose.
What we're also learning in the bidding environment, if we talk to our purchasing person, is a number of builders can be choosy because the work is good now, and this is not exactly a clean job because you have a lot of take off stuff, replace stuff, tear down stuff. It's not like new construction. So we're happy to get a bid. We think it's reasonable, and we just want to get back into business.
Yes, ma'am.
Is any of this going to be offset by insurance?
Yes, all of this should be insurance related.
Good.
Every bit of this
I'm
should
sorry, I
be,
forgot
yes.
to mention. That's a good point.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-115.
Municipal order approving the continuation of a contract with Community Action of Southern Kentucky Incorporated for transportation services for fiscal year 2016.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Williams. Mr. Febo.
As we all know, there is a public bus system in the city of Bowling Green, and that we essentially receive the federal money to help support, and we use a local contractor, Community Action of Southern Kentucky, to manage for us. We went out to bid in 2015. That agency won the bid at the time. It has 1-year renewals. They're here tonight, and we're here tonight to ask you to renew the second year of that contract. We don't anticipate any changes. Principals from Community Action are here to field any questions if you'd like.
Are there any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-116.
Municipal order authorizing the submission of an application for Homeland Security grant funds related to the Critical Infrastructure Protection Project through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security for the purchase of in-car cameras for the police department in an amount up to $82,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Williams.
This is to, again, seek your permission to apply for money through the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security to buy 15 in-car cameras for our police department that, according to the memo, would complete the matching of cameras to pull up patrol vehicles, which is a nice service to have. Nick Cook is here, as well as Doug, if you have any questions.
Any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-117.
Municipal order approving a project to eliminate the existing issues with the Wakefield Pond and authorizing and approving agreements with the necessary property owners.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Perigin. Mr. Febo.
I think we're all familiar in this community with the Wakefield Pond along Wakefield Avenue. That's been a fixture in that particular neighborhood for decades, maybe more than decades. What we've learned is small ponds such as this have a lifetime. They go through various stages of birth and death, and this pond is what is known as eutrophic. It's not living well anymore, and it's starting to produce the byproducts of that, which is a large algae plume that is rarely ever gone. And so we've looked at various options to try to effectuate a solution, and we're here tonight with what we think is a creative solution. That is to drain the pond and to essentially use the retention area to collect water, but not in the form of a pond. What's interesting about this is this particular pond is privately owned by 2 people. We just buy board feet of water on the lake for stormwater for the neighborhoods. So we would need their permission. We've worked on this project for over a year, vetted it with you at retreat. We're here tonight telling you we have the authorizations from the two homeowners and their agreement to go ahead, drain the pond, and effectuate the solution that we've talked about. Because we're the public and we publicly serve people, we've been talking to the neighbors and had a community meeting, I believe, last week. A number of commissioners were there. And so we're starting the communication process. And the first step tonight is for you to agree to the agreements that the property owners have agreed to. Brent Childers or Jeff Lashley, Brent's been handling the community liaison with Karen Foley, and Jeff Lashley is handling the technical parts. If you have any questions.
Any comments or questions? All right, please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Municipal Order 2015-118.
Municipal order approving appropriations for various city-created and contract agencies for fiscal year 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill, second by Denning. Mr. Febo.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to let Kate Schaller handle this since she manages the relationship with the contract agencies. Kate?
Essentially, what we presented to you is the recommendation, which was presented with the budget. We were presented to you only 3 agencies receiving up to a 3% increase, and then 1 agency is taking on the Louisville Road corridor mowing, so that one went up more than 3%. So only 4 agencies are recommended for change from the previous year.
The agencies that we're funding have a direct contract to provide a particular service on behalf of the city.
That's correct.
Did you have a question?
I did, Mayor. When this came up before, there were in the applications from one of the agencies, Community Action Southern Kentucky, a red flag came up to me when it showed that they were proposing a 5% cost of living adjustment for their employees. And I think from the research that we've done and the materials that have been provided, it's not really a cost of living increase adjustment. It was probably be more appropriately entitled a wage adjustment where they were out of balance, and that makes a little bit more sense. So it's not really a 5% cost of living adjustment, and I do appreciate those that got me that information. From what we were presented, it makes sense. So it's not a 5% COLA, but it's just a wage disparity correction. So I'm okay with that.
Any other comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. First reading of ordinance BG 2015-19.
Ordinance relating to budget amendment. Ordinance approving amendment number 4 to the City of Bowling Green, Kentucky annual operating budget for fiscal year 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Hill and second by Williams. Mr.
The other part of the budget process, other than you doing the omnibus passage, is to incrementally manage our spending patterns and receipt patterns over the year through a budget amendment. Today we're here with the 4th and final amendment that reflects changes that we would like to make that have been required during the year or will position us for future needs. Jeff is here if you have any questions. If not, we ask your approval.
Been presented with the
I can't
information.
guarantee this is the
Question or
final,
comments?
but we'll do our best.
Close to final.
95% sure, but we'll see.
95. Like I say, you have all the information here. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Please call the roll.
Perigin.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Hill.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Next, we have a discussion for the Public Works Department to present details about the city's street overlay program.
Maybe I could preamble this for the public.
Yes, sir. Please.
As I'm sure folks in the community and the commission certainly knows, one of our priorities every year is to pave a number of miles, hopefully, but certainly running feet of roadway in the city. By way of comparison, we have increased the amount we have dedicated for paving approximately 60% since 2006. But the rule of thumb is that there's never enough money to meet all the needs that we have in our community. So there's two ways to approach who gets paved and who doesn't. One of the ways that I have been used to early in my 25-year career was for, I would call it political trade-off. 5 commissioners get in a truck on a Saturday and they all go and pick one street in their neighborhood. What happens is the worst part of the town never get fixed and just the same streets get paved. The other way is the way I think is more appropriate. We use science. Roadway science is one of the most advanced sciences that's out there, and people don't know. My wife constantly asks me, why don't they do this? As if there's a magical answer. But there is an actual science to us, and we use a matrix to put together, using science at multiple levels, to determine what streets we can pave. Then we recommend that to you. We thought it'd be helpful, given the rightful concerns of folks in St. Andrews Circle and other parts of the community who had wanted to know about this, was to do a public show and tell about our process and to answer any questions.
Yes, sir.
Jeff?
Good afternoon. I'm going to just give some overview comments, talk about what we go through in this process. Melissa's going to talk about our actual pavement management software and where the analytics of this come into play and how we ultimately come up with that decision. Question we always get, how do you pick which streets you're going to pave? And it's a decision that's not we take it very seriously, and a lot of thought goes into that. It's public money, largely from liquid fuel tax, that funds this program. So the idea is revenue generated from this liquid fuel tax goes into that. Well, you can think about it this way: the more you drive, the more liquid fuel tax you pay, the more damage you're doing to the roads. So what we're looking at is trying to pave the right street at the right time. So if we think about our network and the universe of streets that we have, we've got 258 centerline miles of streets in the entire network of the City of Bowling Green. So we need to know what conditions all of those streets are. So over a 3-year cycle, we will inspect each one. Melissa will show you some the equipment that is used. We do that under a contract basis with a company that does this all over the country and on into Canada as well. So 258 miles total. From there, we've got to funnel this down. So we rate these streets. We give them a score. That score is called Overall Condition Index. And once that score reaches a minimum, the project or the location is considered in need. Currently, we've got 24.7 miles out of the 258 that's considered in need, so right at 10%. So of those in need, we need a way to rank those projects or prioritize those projects and what rises to the top and what doesn't. And that's largely based on the actual conditions that we've measured of the road and traffic. So if you think about it this way, if there's more traffic on the road, it's going to wear faster, and that's going to rise up to the top faster than something with less traffic. And then last, we all got to do this. We've all got personal budgets. We've got budgets with this program. We've got to recommend what we can afford. So that's denoted in the red. So we keep taking that subset down. Some of this I've discussed, but the streets in need, again, that's about 10% of our network. With funding of last year, we did 7.4 miles. And if we take that, divide it into the total network, that's on average, we're paving a street about every 35 years. which is a pretty lengthy time and really too long, in my opinion. We've got more money, and I appreciate that going into this program. I think it's very needed. So Budget Committee and Commission, we appreciate that, and I think that will go a long way to serve the public. That's allowing us a few more miles of streets, and so that's taking that return interval down to about 27.9, 28 years on average. Now, that's holding everything equal, but we don't live in that world. We're accepting new streets into our maintenance system. So out of that universe of streets, there's more coming in each year. While those are in good shape and don't need maintenance for a while, they're in the system, and they will at some time in the future. Inflation plays a great role in this as well. Back in the early 90s, we were paving streets at about $30 a ton. Now we're approaching $100 a ton. So over time, this has increased. That's due to material prices and wage rates as well. Traffic and how traffic changes over time can also be an impact to our roads. If you get more of a certain type of traffic, heavier traffic, the street's going to wear quicker. And another issue that we face, the Justice Department has said when we're paving a street, if there's handicap ramps there, we need to bring them up compliant with ADA regulations. And sometimes we're dealing with some pretty bad locations where we're having to do pretty deep repairs. So we're having to dig up a lot of the street instead of just overlaying. Real quickly, what makes pavement wear? The strength of the pavement being one. So the thicker it is or the stronger the soil underneath, it's going to last longer. We do have what goes on the bottom right picture. As we get cracks in the street, water penetrates in. That water freezes, it expands, it makes the cracks bigger, more water can come in, and it starts to saturate the subgrade. So that's the biggest thing that we see in wear of streets. And another issue is the type of traffic. Heavier trucks, it's going to have more impact than just a small car. So how does a pavement perform over time? This is one of our pavement curves where we're predicting the life of a pavement. So if you look across the x-axis, that would be the age, and then our overall pavement index would be this vertical. On a local residential street, we use a value of 67 is when that street would be considered in need. So typically that's going to be out some 22 years or so. So on average, we think that's a good number, and that's held pretty true on our pavements and what we're looking at. So we can age these pavements over time. We can project out in the future and what they're going to look like when that comes, so we can do our out-year budgeting. We can look at inflation factors and that kind of stuff when we're doing the economic analysis. Okay, and this is more or less how the pavement management process goes. Melissa's going to go into a lot of more details. She's going to talk about the system, going to show you some of our system and how it works, and then we'll be glad to answer any questions afterwards.
Thank you. Again, it's Melissa Kanzler, City Engineer. I'm going to do my best to hit this and show you the 1,000-foot view without getting into too much detail. Hopefully we won't have any trouble remoting in to the actual pavement management system, so I can show you a glimpse of that. I have to thank Jeff. I think this was put in place probably almost 15 years ago, we determined, and we've tweaked it every year to make it better and make it give us, true results. Like any system, it's not foolproof. We're still out inspecting these streets. When it spits out a list, we still go out there and we look at them and we go through that. So, okay, as Jeff said, every street gets inspected every 3 years. So each year, 1/3 of our streets, 258 miles, 1/3 of that gets inspected. Here is a quick glimpse at our zones. We have a south zone, central zone, and north zone. This year, the yellow, the central zone, is what is up and coming for inspection. Each of those zones has roughly 80-something miles of street that gets inspected, so that if anything happens on a street unusual, maybe there's a lot of construction traffic, it does not go too long before we're out there looking at it to see. So it's going to degrade faster in that case than that curve that Jeff showed you would represent. Again, we contract out the inspections each year, and this is a glimpse of the truck that was in town last summer. Got him in action. Basically, when they ride the zone, they are looking at the distresses, the cracking, the ride condition of that segment. And we break our system into segments. It's basically blocks of city streets. We have upward of 3,000 segments in the city that we maintain. So what the intent of this is to give that segment an OCI score, to give it something to start out with. Now, if it was a brand new street without flaw, it would be 100. It would start out at a score of 100. So any distresses, cracking, rutting, anything like that is going to degrade that amount, based on our system. What you see on this truck is a lot of lights, so you can see better. Cameras, video. As they drive, they can take pictures, they can video, they can go back and look. And what they do is they determine the extent of any cracking, any rutting. On the front side, there's a sonar that kind of measures the roughness. So if there's rutting or washboarding at intersections along streets, they can quantify that and, determine the severity. So, the more severe, the more it's going to deduct from that 100 score that you start with. And here's just a quick glimpse at some of the things that they pick up. Now, these are examples of some extreme distresses. Fatigue cracking, we call it alligator cracking because it looks like the back of an alligator. And then down here is an extreme rutting location, and some of those would indicate something's going on underneath that pavement. So just coming in and overlaying that would probably not be the fix. We'd probably have to dig that out and do some repair, which would cost more. So those are kind of things we have to consider in our budget. The next couple of things are more superficial, more on the surface, just minor cracking, the washboard effect, the corrugations, and then the raveling that you see. When asphalt stops adhering and it's flaking off, it looks like gravel. That's some of the weathering and raveling that you see out there. So if they go out and inspect all these segments, all these streets, these miles, what do we do with that information? They come back to us with just tons and tons of data. We have to somehow manage that and use that to better make decisions and use our funds wisely. So we use a system called Cartograph. It's an asset management database, basically, and we use it for more than just pavement. We use it to track our signs, our traffic signals. We also use it for some of our stormwater infrastructure. But by far, we use it for pavement management in its more analytical sense, where we take the inventory, we take the data that we receive, and we can turn that around and use that for our benefit. I'm going to go ahead and try to give you a live version of this. Okay, here's a glimpse into our pavement. Do I have a pointer? No pointer. Pavement management portion. If you look on the left, there's a sign view, there's a signal view, a storm view. So we use each of those modules in a different way. But this is the pavement view. And then each segment has its own kind of section, its own record of sorts. And I chose Creason Street between Maryland and Robinson, basically, because it is on this year's list, and it should be paved probably in the next couple of weeks. We can keep information based on the length of the segment, the width of the segment, is there curb and gutter on the segment, because that requires a different level of rehab. You have to mill at the edges. Excuse me. And then we can come down here under the inspections. We can look to see, or the events. Okay. The inspections tab, we can show there was an inspection last done in 2013. So that means every 3 years, this section is going to be inspected. From that, we can look at events. If it had been paved recently, because we've only had this for about 15 years, it would show a date of the last paving. It would show any street cuts. We've just started entering the street cuts when utilities come in and linking them to these segments. So any street cut is now linked to the appropriate segment in Cartograph. We can track who did it, follow up with the, inspections and make sure they're repaired correctly. To go a step further, the actual inspections, so that's record 1 of 8. This is the most recent inspection. It lists all the distresses they found. It lists the ride quality index. And for each one of those values, it's deducting from that 100 OCI. It's taking away from that 100 score and give it a new rating. So what we found in 13, if you look right there, it gave it a rating of 63. Now we know this is a collector roadway, which is kind of a higher travel, if you know Creason Street, it's higher travel, Western's right there. It's more traffic than a residential, so our minimum value is 69. So back in 2013, it showed need, and we're hopefully getting to that this summer. Now what we can do is take it one step further, and it breaks down all the distresses that they picked up when they were in the field. Whether it be cracking, linear cracking, patching, raveling, rutting, it assigns a severity, basically the extent that they found that in the field, and deducts from that 100 score. And that's how they come up with the 63.47.
Melissa, can you do a down from heaven view of the street?
Like an aerial
Yes,
view?
please. That's pretty powerful, at least for me. You have the capability of doing every segment in the community this way, correct? To visually look at.
Yes, and Cartograph, I don't have it pulled up now, is linked to our GIS, our ArcView, or ESRI software, where Kyle Bearden, he keeps those assets in there and keeps them updated, and we can go back and forth between the two. Now, this is just the city's web map, so do you want us to zoom into?
Yes, the street,
Creason?
please.
Now, we oftentimes use Google, and we do
Whatever
Street
you want to
View.
use to show the street.
Okay. Might be better to use Google Street View.
We're getting close.
All right. Our plans, the segment we're looking at is just, like I said, one city block, but our plans are to pay from University all the way to just past Top Miller, or maybe the next intersection. But it's now, I went out there earlier today to kind of take some pictures. I'll show you later of the distresses, and the iPhones don't capture it like those vans do. They have the lights that project down, and their cameras are up on top that make them look like something from a sci-fi movie from the 80s. But they get really good pictures, and those things are kept inside the data that we collect. So we do have that at any point. So the section we were looking at was right there, which is one of the worst. Or it might have been there, I don't remember. There's one that you can't see it with the tree canopy very well here, but
Right in front of McNeil's school?
we will be going in front of McNeil. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but when we look at, let's just say this one showed an in need, and maybe other couple sections of Creason did as well, we look 3 years out. And if we see Creason 3 years from now, we're not going to wait and do those. We bump those up so we can do a contiguous blocks all at one time. It's just makes more sense. It's more cost effective. So those are things we have to do and physically go out in the field and just see, because while this is great software, it's not foolproof. It's 95% foolproof, but we like to see it on the ground. We would never recommend anything we have not seen. So.
But let me ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
a high traffic flow street, naturally, you would think is going to have more wear and tear, less rideability for 'em than a subdivision street. Is that correct?
Right. And the curve, the life expectancy curve that Jeff showed you was for a local residential. That curve is going to get steeper and it's going to degrade faster for a more collector or a more local commercial, let's just say, that has heavier delivery trucks on it. And those curves, there are probably upward of 20 curves inside the software. And based on what we label that street as, a local or a collector, it's pulling from those curves and degrading those streets at either a quicker or a slower rate. And your minimum also changes. Like we consider, for instance, if we had arterials such as Scottsville Road, we don't pave those, but if we did, that minimum would be a 72. Now a local residential minimum, we let it go a little further down to 67, just because it's less traffic. It's not going to, once it hits that in need, there's going to be less traffic on those local streets than those arterial streets. Otherwise, if we don't do something sooner, it's going to degrade faster. And we didn't mention, but up to the point of the minimum OCI, when we consider it in need, there are maintenance activities that we can do. You know, if we see cracking, maybe we can seal those cracks, prevent that water from getting in there, and maintain the integrity of that segment longer so we can prolong the life of that street. So there's maintenance activities, you know, patching and things like that you do on the front end before you hit that in need level. And then once you hit that in need level, then it competes with all the other in need streets for a full overlay.
What has brought this discussion up this afternoon pertaining to streets?
We have, ever since I've been with the city, we have always gotten questions on, you know, we feel our street needs to be paved from citizens. And a lot of times they are correct. We go out there and we can either visually able to tell it, or we can look to see if it truly is rating it in need. The problem is, like Jeff said, we have over 24 miles of in-need streets. So we have to determine, of those in-need streets, where our priorities lay. So it's a good time to kind of explain, hopefully, and I'm barely touching the surface, because honestly, the deeper you get into cartograph, I have to look at Jeff and ask him questions, and sometimes we even have to call the people who developed it to ask, because it's a very in-depth, detailed analysis that you can manipulate. And, you know, like I said, we've tweaked it every year to make it better and give us the results that when we go in the field, we're, you know, why isn't this one looks like it needs to be paved? Why is it not giving us these results? So over the years, I think it's improved. And just this past year, I felt like it gave us some really, really good results when I went out there to check them. So I think we're getting closer.
I guess my concern is sitting in here this afternoon, I don't know that the people that may be looking at it on television understands any more than what they did before we started this discussion as to why their street can't be paved and the one somewhere else is being paved. As an example, last night when we were strolling, we went by one particular street that I had brought to the attention of the city staff for a few years that hadn't been paved in 40-some years. So I don't know that we're confusing people more or they are understanding more. I don't think anybody that's looking at this on television tonight understands what we're talking about here on this board.
I think the biggest thing to understand, and you know, I can touch on all this, is that number one, there are plenty of streets that show a need, and we realize that. And this current year, we're paving 7 miles of the 24 miles that show a need. So we rely on some systematic way to basically prioritize those in-need streets. It kind of looks at how much traffic, because it's all built in, how much traffic is on the streets that are in need. We need to look at those first and foremost. And rather than, like we said earlier, just going out and picking which ones we think we should. Now, we do rely on people to call us and say, hey, have you been out to our area? I mean, because it's not foolproof. So we do appreciate that. And we keep those things in front of us and consider those for upcoming prioritization processes. So.
One of the questions that I've always had asked over the years is, why did the blacktopping stop there? You know, it may be 500 feet or 700 feet. Why did the blacktopping stop there rather than running it all the way through to wherever?
And Joe, when we get back to that, I think Melissa had the answer. We've got so many in need that we're trying to spread that out as far as we can. We ran analysis.
Let's reinforce that. How many miles are in need? 21 miles?
24.7.
24.
Today.
And so you're only, with all the extra money we put, only able to do 1/3, not even 1/3 of that.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct. Now, there's another way to look at it is, okay, if we paved everything right now that needs paving, you're looking at about $9.6 million of those 24.7 miles. And then a sustained budget of about 1.2 million, which is in the neighborhood of where we are now. So there's just this big pending list out there.
And that's what I'm getting to. I'm not trying to be critical of my staff, which are you in any kind of a way. I was just trying to bring it down as simple as we can to let people know, look, we got 24 miles of roads to be paved. Somebody, whether it's us or somebody else, has got to make a decision out of that 24, what is the worst?
Yeah. And Joe, as you see on the stroll last night, quite a few of the streets had been paved. So we're working that way.
Yeah.
We definitely are, but that's where the prioritization has to come in play, and that's why it's so critical. I'd love to go pave whatever needs to be paved, but if you're going to give me $9.5 million, I'd be glad to do it. But I don't think that's something we can afford. So we're back to prioritization and trying to pick the best streets and do our best job of what we feel like needs it and can prove by the numbers.
Well, I think it's important to note that you do use a science to determine this. It's not a
whim.
Not a dartboard. It's not a, no, sir.
Yeah, we're not on a regular cycle that every so many years this street gets paved. We've got more to pave than we can pave. So we're using science to determine where we need to go first.
And if we had the $9.4 million, there will still be some streets that still need to be paved.
Well, that would get the bulk. But then the thing is, the next year, you've got this list, this infrastructure that's aging over time. You've got your next round of projects.
Jeff, can I clarify something with you, or will you clarify something to me?
Yes, ma'am.
The monies that pay for this overlay project year to year to year come from a fuel tax?
The vast majority
property tax?
is from the liquid fuel tax.
Okay. So if a community has $800,000 homes and they're paying property tax, that doesn't drive the science.
Right. Again, the
I think
monies.
sometimes that's.
And Jeff May could talk a little more about
jump in here just a little bit. The liquid fuel tax is a 40, 50-year-old formula probably. It's called the formula of fifths. It's a really screwed up formula because a lot of places are getting more money than the places that have bigger populations and more traffic. It's not allocated properly, and that's something that the General Assembly, I think, is going to try to address coming up. At least KLC's going after it because of the formula it's so old and it's more rural based, and it just doesn't address places like Bowling Green that has 500,000 people coming to it and using the roads and wearing them out.
And it's based on coal, isn't it?
There's
coal counties, don't they receive
There's
more?
There's 5 different things that go into this formula that they touched on in a meeting we were at last Friday. I can't remember. Population's one, but There's 4 other ones that,
Counties get a preference. Rural areas get.
what's that, Bruce?
Counties get a fifth just because.
Yeah,
they're a
counties get a
county.
fifth just flat right off the
amount
top,
of population
no matter what.
determines
Mayor,
a fifth
can I-
of it, the amount of road miles determine a fifth of it, and the other two are convoluted.
Just to comment more on Commissioner Perigin's question, the source of the question. In addition to the liquid fuels, we've made a consistent effort over the last 2 years to put general fund money, any excess money that we could see fit to stick it into paving, because we know that you think it's important, and we have done that, and you have passed budgets that put our money in, and our goal is to continue to put more money in, but can we put 9 million in?
We did this last budget,
And the budget-
dedicate the gas franchise fee to the road paving budget too.
Plus extra money. Is that correct, Katie?
Well, we use the gas franchise used to be in the general fund. We moved it to the liquid fuel tax fund to use for this purpose. Now, the liquid fuel tax from the state has been generating about $1.2 million a year, but that's getting ready to be trimmed down because of the gas tax. So we might be looking more like $1 million, $1.1 million a year. So we're going to have to find a way to subsidize that to keep pace with where we want to go. Because this year we put $1.5 million in. If that gas tax hits us like they say it's going to hit us, it could be a 15-20% cut on that money. So we got to find it somewhere else.
We could always, if you choose, in future budget years, take from Peter to pay this Paul, i.e. sidewalks could be less, or any other priorities you have, we could always siphon off more money. But we've always had this desire to do paving, fix a road or two, do sidewalks, and stormwater. All of them seem to have equal priority. So if that is changing, we'll have to address that in the future.
Are we ready for public comments on this?
If you are, yes.
Yeah.
Did you have any closing? It's close.
What? Okay. All right.
I think I touched on most of this. Basically, once we kind of show the streets that are in need, and we run a 3-year list, and that's what I started doing. Jeff had done it in the past, but now that we've tweaked our system, I have a 3-year list of in-need streets, and this is last year's, and I take a really detailed look at year 1. I go out in the field, and a lot of times it may show a need because I found, this is one of the things I found, if it's a really, really short segment and it's got one bump in it, it triggers it, because the percentage of total length is, so you have to watch for some of those anomalies. But overall, it was a very good starting point. And then, like I said, if I look in year 3, and there's some of example Creason Street in year 3 as well as year 1, I'll move those up to make a contiguous paving segment, which only opens up more room in year 3 for some more paving. So that's how we tackle it. The system has all kinds of built-in network priorities, the main ones being the OCI number and then the amount of traffic it sees. Again, when we finally get our final paving list, we have to consider the ADA needs. Right now, if you have one block of roadway, you have to look at handicap ramps on each end, which could be up to 8 handicap ramps that you have to make compliant. That could be upward of $2,000 a ramp or more. So that eats away at our paving budget, because that's a federally mandated fix that we have to undertake. And then finally, we take that list, before we recommend to you all, we take it to the utility companies, because in particular, Atmos right now is in their 15-year Bear Seal project. So we want to make sure we're not going to pave a street that they're going to come behind us in a couple years and rip up. So we're trying to make that work with BGMU, or whoever the utility might be. I guess that's really all. If there's questions, feel free, or email me if you think about it and have some more questions. I'll try to explain. I sit down with you and explain. Just let me know.
If you would, please. I think we've got some gentlemen here that would like to speak. If you come up to the microphone, Ms. Hines, please. Mr. Hines, if you wouldn't mind giving your name and address so we can put that in our minutes, please.
Mr. Mayor, council members, I'm Ken Hines, resident of St. Andrews Circle. This is Danny Zoller, also a resident of St. Andrews Circle. And we're here to plead our case, if you will, for repaving of St. Andrews Circle. I think you were given a packet of materials to review here some time ago, which gives you a pretty good idea of what we consider a subdivision street that is in distress. We have approximately 3/10 of a mile lengthwise, and it's a circle. It's a never-ending circle. So, listening to the previous presentation, I think it's pretty academic that one of the things that's a big strike against us is traffic, lack of traffic. And I don't know how they weigh each of the items in terms of their study, and I certainly we wouldn't debate the accuracy of it. They know that better than we do. But for some reason, we have a 3/10 of a mile in St. Andrews Circle that was built in 1989. It has not been touched. Well, I won't say that. Some of the cracks have had asphalt poured into it. But it has not been repaved since it was brand new. We have substantial cracks, 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch across the street. We have what I call monkey cracks throughout the street, all over the street. We have curbings which invariably, in most cases, are either an inch above the paving or down below the paving. Most of them have cracks in them, have grass growing, can have grass growing in those areas. And we just think that it's time that we really get some sympathy, if you will, to get our street fixed. Even to the extent, and this sounds far-fetched, but you alluded to a while ago, use of the property and paying the bill to pave it. Would you agree? What's a mile of paving cost? What is it? What a mile?
$170,000.
It depends upon the width, so I understand that. But the width, say,
3 cars wide.
it's enough for 2 cars and 2 other cars, so 2 4 cars. So how much a mile? You know, roughly?
168,000.
168,000. All right, we have 3/10 of a mile, 168,000. You would say roughly $50,000 to pay it. How about letting us through our association collect that $50,000 over a period of a year or two, and you apply some credit to our property taxes in there. We have 40, how many lots? 40?
41.
41 houses in there that, from a look standpoint, the street desperately needs some tender, loving care. We have people that are paid every year to enhance the common areas, shrubbery, trees, maintenance and upkeep, put a sprinkler system in. You certainly have pride of ownership, but when we look at the street every day, and I walk the circle, and it's very discouraging to see all of the issues that we're talking about. I think we recognize that you have to have some sort of a measurement or some sort of a program to determine which streets should get paved and which don't get paved. And it kept coming up in this debate a few minutes ago that traffic. We don't have a lot of traffic, but we've got 3/10 of a mile that was built in 1987 or 88, and I'm not sure, and I know there's some debate about it, I'm not sure that that street ever got the final coat of paving on it. Because a lot of streets didn't. And the fellows that built that subdivision ended up in jail. So, I don't know. But the condition of the manholes, the condition of the curbings, in terms of below or above the grade level, would indicate that there's certainly some distress, and there might have been some lack of quality when it was built originally. I guess in closing, there's nothing wrong with a grid, if you will, or a program to give you some guidelines as to this does need to be paved, this should be paved, or whatever the case may be. But a lot of that is subjective in the long run, because they don't have enough money to pave everything that their programs say need to be paved. So they have to, we have to, or you have to pick and choose which of the ones that by the formula should be paved are going to be paved. Fairway Street is a good example. That's a street out there that over a period of the last 2 years, they put in 2 stretches of paving. That street today, well, even what hasn't been paved, looks like it's brand new compared to what our street looks like. So all I'm saying is, all we're saying is that you have to put some common sense into some of this decision making. It can't all be done by the book. But I think the idea maybe in some of these areas where it doesn't fit the formula, that you give the homeowners the opportunity to maybe come up with a plan to fund it themselves and to get credit on their property taxes in some fashion, either 100% or some percentage, to pay for it over a period of 2 or 3 years. We got a lot of subdivisions around here that are dead ends, and they're not gonna fit too well in them. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Hines. Mr. Zoller? Jeff, did you have the score for that subdivision?
Without going through and trying to find it, might crank a little while, but it is right on the verge of being an in-need section. It was 2016, like a year and maybe a month out from showing in need if you follow that curve. Again, it's in the central zone. It will be inspected again. I want to say maybe August time frame. Hopefully they'll be in town. It could very well show that segment drop down based on, and I've been out there, and I appreciate their understanding of our segment, and it would in visual be in need. I mean, it's right on the verge. Again, it doesn't get a lot of traffic, and maybe therefore that's why it's not going to, it wouldn't fall on our list yet because it's not in need. But say next year it does. Say the inspection shows it's now a 64, which is below the minimum 67. I can see the issues with it competing with those streets. Like even Fairway, it gets more traffic, so it's going to bump up higher. Again, I see their points, but it's right on the verge. I want to say maybe a 68, 69 when it has to be a 67. So.
Is there a dire need score, a 52, 50? What's
no
eminent need?
I don't think we have a rock bottom need. Usually we try to pick the ones. Now, not to say that there's not some out there. Creason, for instance, if we had gone further through the software, we can calculate a current at the very moment OCI, and it has now degraded to a 59. And if you drive that section that I just showed, it very well qualifies as a 59 based on ride and distresses. So no, we don't have a rock bottom.
We've got that prioritization process, so we take that, and again, traffic, pavement condition, ride are the things that go into. There's a few streets that we've had to do total reconstruct on in this last program, and you know, we had mud coming up through the streets and just a bad situation. That needed something done, and it had to be done. And of course, it showed that on our score as well. So again, I felt very confident, and that I know that was the right thing to do. But we're trying to get the bad stuff out of the system. And so if when we're coming up with these recommendations,
Is the cosmetic look of a street a criteria?
No.
Okay.
You say that it's going to be inspected by the computer process in August.
Well, they'll run the van over it and all the scanners and all that kind of stuff. There's evaluators on. There's about 4 people that run that van. We get the data back. We put it in the system. We do the analysis, and then that's how we get our initial list. We get the initial list. We're out field verifying everything. So just because a box on our desk gives us an answer, that's not good enough. We're going to go lay eyes on it, and before it comes to you, that will have happened.
Have we laid eyes on this? Have we
Yes,
been
sir.
out there
Several
to
times,
walk
sir.
it?
Yes, sir.
I think all of us have.
I think all of us
Yeah, all
have.
of us have done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask something on this? You all alluded to, or they alluded to developers or builders that maybe left the street in maybe not the best repair because of whatever financial constraints. Is that something the city has to come
Well,
in?
when the subdivision was built, it would go through the subdivision process. It would have been inspected by the planning commission and the city as well. They collect weigh tickets on the asphalt that went in. Think about, you've got a given area and you've got a volume. You're going to know how much by the tonnage achieves your thickness. The thicker the pavement, the stronger it is. That being, if we look at it that way. So the indications were that, or it was recommended for acceptance by the planning commission.
What happens when you build a subdivision as a developer puts up a bond? If they don't finish it, then that bond is recalled to finish out the
Yes.
streets. And before we accept it, we inspect it to make sure that it's up to standard in most cases, as this is a general statement, and then we accept it at that point. If it's not, like we have an issue down in south of town that we're not accepting something because it's not up to grade this far.
Yeah, I think it's fair for the general public to know that anybody can't just leave some stuff half done and,
And with that going in 89, there's been a lot of traffic, a lot of cars. You think about the construction traffic through the time. I did see what they're talking about the asphalt being a little lower at the curb line. I've seen that happen before. Sometimes paving companies are a little hesitant to get the roller right up next to the curb because they're going to bust the curb up. So there might have been some lack of compaction at the time causing that.
thank you.
Okay, do we have any other comments about this? I don't know that we have a particular answer for you tonight, but at least we know where we stand. We're going to look at it again in late summer and do some calculations and try to come up with where that status is. Am I understanding that correctly? Yes, sir. Name and address so we can get in the minutes.
John Dempsey, St. Andrews Circle as well. We were just talking, I was asking, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but just, how much, the one thing I hadn't heard them say is how much in need is added every year. And she said that on average that number stays at about the 27-mile mark. So it's always about 10%. But when you factor in the traffic, I think what happens in a situation like ours is that we're constantly being pushed to the bottom because of roads that do get more traffic, and I get that. So we were just discussing that ought to possibly be a factor, not necessarily. I understand traffic, and we understood why part of Fairway got paved, because it did need. But then when they came and did the second section as well, then we started going, okay, And so it just seems like if you're in that part that's in need, but you're not a heavy trafficked area and you're constantly being pushed down, that ought to be a factor too. That's where the frustration comes in. And with all the new development that's going on with, the trend is to do courts and dead end streets and where we're not connecting, subdivisions with except maybe one street. This is something that I think, might need to be looked at in the future. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dempsey. Okay. Any other comments or discussion? All right, that's the end of our regular session. Do we expect a vote coming in?
No.
So that's the end of our regular session. We'll be going to closed session. Our next meeting is scheduled for July 7th. It will not be in this room. It will be in
Court.
the Warren Fiscal Court room because we'll be doing some repairs in here.
We have to televise it.
Yeah.
We have to televise it, so they have
We
to
televise,
televise
and
it.
that's the easiest and least expensive place to do that. So thank you very much for tuning in.